Welcome to the Holistic Kid Show. My name is Zane.
My name is Imad. And my name is Kasim.
We're the Holistic Kids here to educate us kids from the inside out. With the new year comes new challenges and new stresses. In 2024, 43% of adults say that they feel more anxious than they did in the previous year, up from 37% in 2023 and 32% in 2022. And it's probably as bad for kids. I notice kids becoming more stressed out now in middle school than they were a couple of years ago.
We need a solution that we can implement every day to help us with stress.
Well, that is why we have the one and the only Michael Wood here with us today. Mr. Wood is the author of Just One Conscious Breath. After an early career in marketing, Michael Wood became a spiritual companion, teacher of presence, and qualified breathwork practitioner. Mr. Michael leads meditation retreats in Ireland and the USA. This new book, Just One Conscious Breath, the profoundly simple practices that moves you from reaction to response, he draws upon the profound lessons learned from working with non-speaking autistic children.
Wow.
So thank you so much, Mr. Wood, for joining us today.
Thank you. It's lovely to meet you all.
We know that you are incredibly busy today, so we are so honored. For you to be here today.
So honored.
And thank you for joining us today. We know that the time zones are also very different, so we are very thankful.
What drove you to do? What drove you to do all the amazing things that you are doing? We would love to know and to hear your story.
Yeah, I suppose it goes back a little way. So I'm 60 now, so that's a lot of story, but I'll make it short. I started off in marketing in London because I wanted to make lots of money, but then I found out I didn't like office life, so I changed to become, and I was good at trading, so I changed to become a teacher. And then I moved to Ireland because I love Ireland. I always say that moving from England to Ireland is like moving from the head to the heart. And I've been in Ireland half my life now, and I've been following my passion to work with children, neurodivergent children, so that they would be children on the autistic spectrum. And I particularly enjoy working with the non-speaking children. So I worked with them for about 20, 25 years. And I've just stopped doing that now to sort of share my message around breathing and accompanying people and applying the lessons I learned from the children.
How is our breath?
That's amazing. Your story is really amazing. How, especially in London, it's more of a work business space, and then you moved to Ireland and you really found who you were. So it's really amazing.
No, you've got it. That's a very good summary. It is. London is busy, a bit like New York. Ireland's busy too, Dublin, but quieter and calmer and more countryside.
How does our breath impact our health? Is there a right way to breathe and a wrong way to breathe? How can breathing relax the nervous system? Common stresses kids are dealing with today.
I suppose the most important thing is to breathe, to keep breathing. I think it's really important to try and consciously breathe. And by consciously breathe, I mean to do that, to take a break from chatting and thinking and just take a breath. Because breathing is the only thing, we can do both consciously and unconsciously. Like we can't consciously circulate our blood or digest our food. That all happens unconsciously. And we can breathe unconsciously, but we can also do it consciously. So it's important to do it consciously because then it gives you an opportunity to just take a break from being you and all the business and just sort of to have a window to look into where you are right now. So if you just take one conscious breath, it slows everything down and it makes you more aware of what's happening. And doing that reduces stress and anxiety.
Wow. And it's so important that like just the way you breathe can really affect your stress and really how it can affect your how you relax. So that's really amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's important that where you can. Obviously, sometimes it's difficult if you've got a cold or asthma or things, but wherever you can, try and breathe through the nose. The Chinese used to call it the royal highway, the nose. That's the way to get purity of thought, is to just try and breathe through the nose whenever you can.
Okay. Wow, that was amazing. So
Amazing.
we know HeartMath has done lots of studies on heart rate variability. When you
Mhm.
live a life of appreciation, your heart rate is a nice sine wave, but when you live a life of frustration, your heart rate variability is all over the place. So how can we optimize our heart rate variability?
By reducing stress and by consciously breathing. And then if you reduce stress, you'll get into that zone. And consciously breathing is the best way for me to reduce stress. Other people do things like yoga or tai chi or meditation, or walking, but for me, conscious breathing is the best way to improve my stress levels, and so improve heart rate variability, and get your whole body and get your whole system in sync.
So how can we improve our levels of heart rate variability?
Well, by consciously breathing, by breathing through your nose, by taking exercise, and I'm not an expert in heart rate variability, but I also think probably diet, having a good holistic regime around your diet, your exercise, and conscious breathing will all help. And also doing the things you love. If you follow your joy and do the things you love, you tend to get in the zone. Whereas if you're constantly cutting against the grain and doing things that you find, that don't give you joy, then that can cause stress. And obviously, in life, we have to do things we don't always enjoy, but I think that life is about trying to find things that really fire us up and make us, so when we're working, it doesn't feel like work. We're kind of flowing rather than working.
Yeah, that makes like awesome. So how do us kids add more conscious breathing into our lives?
Okay, well, on the front page, on the front cover of the book, there's a dolphin, and that was deliberate, because dolphins can only, like us, they're mammals. They've got lungs, like us, and instead of a nose, they have a blowhole, and they have to consciously come up for air, and they do it about every 8 minutes, and then they dive down deep into their life on the ocean, under the ocean, and then they come up again every 8 minutes. So I think that what would be, and I've tried it myself, is to just become a land dolphin, to see yourself sort of come up for air every 8 minutes or so, consciously breathe. And that really, really helps. When I wrote the book, I actually set a timer. So I would consciously come up for air every 8 minutes and become like a land dolphin. And it really helped me. It really sort of changed things. And then it became more natural. And you'll even find as we chat, I'll probably taking conscious breath, because when I do that, I can get more into my flow, like the dolphin, I guess.
So in today's world, we're rushing from class to class, especially from area to area, and when doing this, we just stuff everything into into our mouths, and we just kind of like stop being mindful. So how can kids be more mindful in today's world?
I think you made a really good point there about mouth breathing. I think just try and breathe through the nose wherever you can, but there are also lots of different breathing techniques we can kick off. One of them, which is really, really helpful, and there's evidence around it, is called box breathing. So like a box, or a book, it's got 4 sides, and the 4 sides are you inhale, and then you hold the breath, then you exhale, and then you hold the breath. And you do it for, say, 3 seconds or so. We could try it together now if you want.
Yes.
We could all box breathe. So what we will do is we'll inhale for 3, hold for 3, exhale for 3, and hold for 3. And we'll do that 3 times, okay? Will we try it together? And we're just checking how we feel before and after. So what I'll do is my hand will be like the sides of the box. We go up for 3, in, hold for 3, out for 3, hold for 3. Okay?
Okay.
Are we up for this?
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, lads, let's go. So let's go up for 3. Out for 3. Hold for 3. In for 3. Out for 3. Hold for 3. In for 3. That's great that you did.
That was great.
That was
You really
wonderful.
do feel very different after doing that.
How do you feel different?
I feel especially more
Calmer,
relaxed.
calmed.
Yeah, feel more
Calm.
calm. Yeah, it really does change you on how you, because a lot of times we're running through places, and it's really important that we do these breaths to really calm ourselves down and take a little break, kind of like take a little break, and then it'll improve the rest of the day.
Yeah, and I guess how long did that take us? Do you think those three, 30 seconds?
30 seconds at max, probably.
Yeah, max. Yeah. So if you did that I sort of say like a dolphin, come up every 8 minutes. But if you box breathe whenever maybe if you're having a transition in particular, or whenever you think of it, do that. Especially if you're feeling stressed, it really, really helps. So, instead of life sort of stressing you, you take the initiative, and you can then look at it and think, okay, I've taken a break from it all, and I have a fresh perspective, and that can really help. So I think box breathing is really good, and then the other strategy is to, as I say, to surface for air consciously, wherever you can, whenever you think about it. One of the things that I always think about breath is it's very generous. When I was working with children who were neurodivergent, and some of them were non-speaking, sometimes they would be very frustrated. We all get very frustrated, but sometimes a way of expressing the frustration was behavior, because if you don't have language or words to put on your back on how you're feeling, then your behavior becomes your communication. So sometimes the communication could be hard to understand, and sometimes you wanted to keep the situation safe. But if someone is really, really, really cross and uptight, if you say, let's do some box breathing or take a breath, they won't hear you because they're feeling so crazy. So the best thing to do is to actually do it yourself. So I would just be the breath that they want to be. So I think that what you can do as kids is, if you see people who are stressed, think, well, if I say to them, take a breath, it's not going to help them. But if I can emanate that breath that I would like them to be, I can change the situation. And when we do that, it's like we're talking from our heart, and our heart is so much more powerful than our head.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suggest, guys, just take a generous breath when you can, and breathe from the heart. Especially if you find other people who are in trouble, might just be in the line at the shop, or on the subway, or in class and struggling. Just take a breath for them, and be generous with the breath, and that can really, really help. And obviously you're helping yourself too. So yeah, just whenever you think to take a conscious breath, take it like you would a sip of water. Just you have a glass of water. We're all told now, aren't we, to hydrate. And breath is a way of sort of same sort of way of sort of hydrating our whole system and calming ourselves. So that's what I would do. And I think that they always say that I used to teach children meditation, and they always say that you should do no more than a minute for how old you are. So if you're say teaching someone who's 5, you wouldn't do more than 5 minutes of meditation or 5 minutes of breathing. So that's the most you should ever do. So if you were 11 and you wanted to, really take some time out to just chill out and so forth, you wouldn't do more than 11 minutes of breathing consciously. And want something that can happen. Let's try one thing now. Let's all try and breathe together and not think. And when a thought comes in your head, just put your hand up, okay? So what we're going to do is we're just going to breathe in and out of our nose. And when we get a thought, we'll just put our hand up. Now, our hand should go up a lot because on average, we have about one thought every second, okay? So let's try an experiment for everybody. Let's just breathe in and out of our nose. And when we have a thought, we'll put our hand up. You guys are really good at that. You're really good at that. And you're probably thinking, this is a bit crazy, but in Buddhism, which is a form of practice, when they would say our thoughts are like clouds. Don't attach yourself to them. Just let them come and go. So a really good practice is to say, oh, there's a thought. I don't need to scroll through and follow that thought. I don't need to it's not like being on Instagram and just keep scrolling. I can just, oh yeah, there's a thought. So this time we'll do it again, but instead of putting up our hands, we're just going to say thought, okay? So we're going to breathe through our nose, and every time we have a thought, we're just going to say thought. Okay? Can we try that?
Yeah.
Thought.
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 Thought. Thought.
Thought.
Thought. Okay, we're doing really good. Now this time, instead of putting a hand up or saying it, we're just going to watch it and say, oh, there it is. Oh, we'll just keep breathing. Okay, so let's just do a minute or so of breathing. And when a thought comes and goes, oh, hello, friend, let it go. We won't follow it, won't scroll it. Okay, so let's just breathe. And when a thought comes, we'll welcome it like a friend, but we'll just let it go. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Did you hear the bell? How was that for you?
Very peaceful. It was like after today, we just came back from school, so we were like kind of also running around, and now we just come here and then we breathe. It really does have an impact. I
Yeah.
feel.
When you see sort of watch a thought, what does that feel like?
Well, when you mentioned the clouds, now I think I just think of thoughts as clouds. What do you guys think?
No.
No? Okay, then you guys share what you guys think.
Yeah. And I suppose the thing is that our brain is a little bit like our iPhones, that we don't have to keep scrolling through our thoughts, and one thought leads to another thought and another thought and another thought, and that's where we don't have peace. That's where stress comes from. We just scroll through thoughts all the time. So when we can say, thought, I think, yeah, that's okay. That's not necessarily who I am. That's just something going on in my head. That's a really, really powerful lesson. And conscious breathing really helps us to understand that. So that's a real kind of you've joined me there in a bit of a masterclass in meditation. That's really important. Yeah. And just trying to integrate that into your day is really important whenever you can. Whenever you can, introduce it to. I mean, it's wonderful. You've got all these listeners, so you're disseminating a very, very important lesson to people. You're sharing it, which is really, really good. And by breathing and watching your thoughts live to your peers, you're doing something very, very powerful and very, very important, which is that we are not our thoughts. We are not necessarily the contents of our head. We think that that's where it's all at, but it's not. It's really when we come from our heart, when we come from our breath, we're much more empowered. And when we do that, we're actually more creative, because you can sort of flow. It's a bit like painting a picture. Rather than sort of thinking about it, you just, the brush strokes just lead you, and a picture evolves, rather than having a picture in your head, if that makes sense.
And I liked how you talked about how the thoughts were kind of like scrolling, because when you have one thought, especially at night when you don't have much to see because it's all dark and everything's very quiet. At night, thoughts really come really fast, especially when you're not sleeping, or at least for me, thoughts really come. And basically what happens is that you have a thought that comes, and then you think about another thought, and you're like, okay, this isn't bad, and you think about another thought, and it's suddenly, like, after more thoughts, you think about that one embarrassing time in first grade, that now you have all, now you're just thinking about all of these, and you're going to kind of ongoing, maybe about the future. And this is what really, like, where stress comes from. I think you were right. Stress is very from the thoughts. So
that's a wonderful analogy, an example, because I guess when that happens, you can't sleep as well, because you're just scrolling through your thoughts, and then that kind of gets into a sort of circle. Because you can't sleep, you're getting stressed, and because you're stressed, you can't sleep, and it kind of goes round and round and round. So half the battle in life is seeing the problem. So you've explained that very clearly. Thank you.
Well, yeah, it really is our pleasure.
How should we incorporate meditation into our everyday routine?
Well, I think we've done a bit of it. I mean, just watch your thoughts, take conscious breaths, don't do more than a minute for your age, and perhaps if you're in the car, or you're in the bus, or on the subway, you can do it then, because that's a good time. Maybe rather than being on the phone, you think, okay, this is an opportunity to just, rather than scrolling through the phone, I can scroll through my head and just let go of all those thoughts. So I think it's just a case of whenever you can, and just having a routine to remind you. It's a bit like training for a match. The more you do it, the better you get. The fitter you get, the fitter your mind gets, and the fitter your heart gets. So
this was so powerful.
So powerful.
Simple things we can do because we all breathe to help us lower our stress. Where can people learn more about you and your amazing work?
Where can they learn more about me?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I have my book, which is a good place to start, Just One Conscious Breath, which is is there. It's got the dolphin on. Do you remember we did the dolphin?
Yes.
So the dolphin comes up every 8 minutes, and in that days there's about 50 different breaths you can take to support you. So there's a chapter, and in the chapter there's a story, and at the end, and often about my life or about the autistic children I work with, and at the end of that story, there's a breath that kind of sums up how that breath supported that's me in that story. So that's really, really helpful. So yeah, the book is great. And I think take a breath. Just take a breath whenever you can. Watch your thoughts whenever you can, and just become conscious. Just become conscious that breathing is so much about who we are, and we overlook it because we can do it unconsciously, because we don't have to think about it. We don't think about it, but actually, when we do think about it, it's gold, because that's the key to our mental health. It's the key to our spiritual health, and it's the key to our creativity. So I'm really grateful for you guys that you've brought me on, and we've had this opportunity to share the importance and the power of the breath. It's really important. And talk to your teachers about it. So can we have breath breaks, please, in class? Can we just have 4 or 5 minutes of box breathing? And I know how to do it. And just introduce it to your class, because we're all ambassadors for the breath. I mean, you are now ambassadors for the breath, as I am. And we all have a role, I think, once we see how powerful it is, we all have a role to share. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I'm talking to you guys, because I think it's really, really important.
Wow. So if you could have one key takeaway, something super important, something that you really want kids to start doing right now, today, what would you do?
I'd ask every kid to become a land dolphin. I'd ask every kid to come up for air consciously every 8 minutes. Just so when you can, think, okay, and then take a big deep dive back into your life. That's what I would ask you to do.
Wow, that is really important.
Let's recap Mr. Wood's key points. We kids can't let stress take over our health. We need to look at our thoughts as clouds. We are not our thoughts. The most important thing to do is keep breathing. We need to learn to conscious breathe. It slows everything down and brings more awareness to our lives.
Breathe through the nose as best as you can. Find joy in your life. We need to live like dolphins. We need to consciously breathe every 8 minutes. Practice box breathing for 3, hold for 3, and out for 3. And then hold for 3 again. And then out for 3. So, and then
start with yourself. Be the breath that you want to be. Take a generous breath today. Think of breath as hydrating your whole system.
And thank you again, Michael, or Dr. Wood, or Mr. Wood.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's just been a pleasure to spend some time with you, and thank you for sharing the breath with all your listeners. And I know that you're available on iTunes, so I would recommend your listeners download that and learn more about what we've been talking about, and all the links to what we've been saying. And just consciously breathe, become ambassadors for the breath, which you are. Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Zan Sorry.
I'm Imad, and I'm Kassim.
Follow my Flaming Eye on social media, Holistic Mom D, and look out for our book releasing September 2025 called The Teen Health Revolution. Kids need to learn from other kids. Please download our podcast on iTunes and leave a review so other kids and families can benefit. We need to create a healthier future for all of us and the planet. Join us next week for another episode of the Holistic Kid Show, where kids are empowering kids. Thank you, everyone.